Well, I'm joined by Sam Youngz today.
Hi.
This is, oh my gosh, hello. This is the first video recording I've ever actually done with a partner in crime. And yeah, because normally I'm either on the podcast, Life Beyond Lost podcast, or I'm just showing up live on Facebook or whatever. So this is great. So thank you so much, Sam, for being. I'm not sure if invited or forced is the right word.
No. There was no force in it. No, thank you for having me.
Or I don't know.
No.
Let's just do some quick introductions as well, because I'm guessing that most people know me, Louise Creswick, grief and loss coach. But let's introduce you, Sam. And I'm going this way because I hope
you got me
on the screen, but I don't know, maybe it'll end up the wrong way around. But let's introduce you, Sam, and tell people, just a little bit about you, who you are, what you do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so my name's Sam Youngz from Ruby Sam Youngz, and I have set up a holistic service to help women, midlife women who are struggling with their deep emotional pain, to release that pain and get their sparkle and shine back in their lives. I do this by helping them process their human emotions, their emotional pain, with a grief recovery method course, but also support them holistically with crystal and energy healing and natural well-being advice to help them on their grief journey if they're struggling with certain symptoms like anxiety or can't get to sleep, aches and pains, headaches and stuff like that. So it's a holistic service that supports them as they're going through their journey of processing their emotions.
You're just an awesome really, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very important. I'm a spiritual person, but I also recognise we are humans living in this human body right now, living this life we're living. So we have to find effective ways to process the emotions, the turmoil, the inner bleep that's going on within us. We're human, we have to process our human emotions, but there is more aspects to us as well that need that support to help you through that journey, mentally, physically, spiritually and emotionally.
Yeah, I'm really interested in holistic approach, really, or just in the idea of approaching this holistically. For some people it's a bit of an alien concept because very often, let's be honest, we might experience a bereavement, for example, and the first port of call is to go perhaps into bereavement counselling, and that's absolutely great. I think talking therapies are amazing. However, people then maybe don't recognise that there may be some other needs going on as, within their whole self. So this is not just necessarily about processing the emotional side of it or just talking about it. Then there might be physical needs, like you said, there might be spiritual needs, social needs even, that often exist. So I'm really, really interested and really keen to just bring that awareness to people about looking at this as a holistic approach.
And whatever issue you have in life, we do require a holistic approach. Grief itself, as we are both aware through our own grief journey and experiences, is such a complex, misunderstood issue that just adds on to the confusion you're going through, the confliction. So as you said, talking therapies have their place, and for many people that is their sort of starting point that they're directed to, either through their GP or whatever service they've linked to, and that can get you so far. But then there's more, and you can, in my case, I was like, okay, I've had many talking therapies since teenage years, but I'm still feeling stuck. you know, there's so much else going on, and it's finding that different approach that resonates with you. You know, you've got to have a resonance with it, or it's not really going to do anything for you. You know, you can go and do something, but I always say to people, go with your gut feeling. If you get an instant yes, that's for me, then go for it. Especially when you're grieving, you're going to have a lot of mind monkey chatter going on, and you know, possibly knocking your confidence down. You may be isolating yourself as well. You touched on earlier about the social aspect of helping people become less isolated. Yeah, so if that's what I always say to people, just go with your gut instinct. Yes, your mind may tell you, your self-doubt might creep in, your self-confidence might creep in, like telling you no, 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 no. But it takes time, but it's what you do in that time that's going to help you heal and move forwards. And also not beating yourself up, you know, it's a steps back, steps forwards. There's triggers going to be going on for you that are going to, you know, knock you backwards. Yeah, it's just a complex issue. You can't do it all at once either.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how much you want to, that's not going to have a long-lasting impact on you, longer term, in my opinion. If you sort of go all gung-ho into something, you're going to be feeling overwhelmed anyway, and just adding that onto you. So it's being kind to yourself, as you know, self-love, that self-care, and just taking it step by step.
Wow. I'm so glad you brought that up, actually, because I think that would be really, really great. That's what I think, really want to share with people today, actually, this whole idea of self-love and self-care, especially with there being a theme around at the moment. Love is in the air, all of that.
Yeah.
And this is a really tough thing for people. I mean, let alone, even grief aside, this is a tough thing when you're grieving anyway. But even I think for people in general, the concept of self-care and self-love is still quite alien to people. It sort of feels almost counterintuitive for some people, because they spend so much time externally focused on other people, focused on what they need externally as well, things. Maybe, you know, people like I sometimes have clients that are mums, and you know, the needs of their family and their dependents often come first, and then they're often way down the priority list. Work, people that are very career minded like myself, you know, there's a real emphasis there on work, and then again it drops down to the bottom of the list. So this is a really difficult thing, I feel, for most people, regardless of whether they're grieving or not. Would you agree?
Totally. And I learned the hard way. As you say, I think generally we do tend to put everyone before ourselves. Where that comes from stems from, you know, that could be a whole different podcast on that, of the history in society, and you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that for everyone else. You know, and if you, as you say, if you are a mother or you've got a family, you're caring for your parents, as in my case, we forget, you know, we're doing this, we're running here, we're going there, and then we just totally forget about ourselves. And then that can only take you so far before you will start experiencing health issues, whether that be emotionally, mentally, or physically. And I learned that the very hard way. It's that my body going completely bang before I took notice of it. But yeah, it is. But it is a hard concept, and it's something that I have to work at daily still. But like they say on the aeroplanes and that, you put your own oxygen, I meant oxygen, oxygen mask on first. And it's just so true that you cannot help anyone else until you help yourself and put yourself as that priority.
Yeah. I think you invented a new word there. I think moxygen is my oxygen. It's a moxygen.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? And it's so, how much in your news feed, and I get this, like you see a lot about self-care these days. It is more talked about. It's people are, I guess, becoming more awake to the importance of it. And yet there's still this kind of like, oh, boring, that self-care message again. But actually, it might well be that we're seeing it a lot and we're aware of it, but are we really honestly being honest with ourselves, actually prioritizing it? And so I still feel there's a little way to go in terms of, yes, people understand the message a bit more, but actually making it happen seems to be a whole different level, really.
Well, it is. As I said before, you know, it's something I have to work out daily. You know, and I think, oh, I've done absolutely nothing for myself today. You know, and I'm going to bed, and I'm like, okay, I'll do something now in bed. You know, do a meditation on that. And it doesn't have to be something. You don't have to do something for an hour a day. It can be as simple as a minute, 5 minutes of just taking some time out for yourself. Even if that means you have to go into your bathroom and just lock your family away. Yeah, but it is hard because we all lead such busy lives to just allocate that time out, and it is planning your day, really. I mean, I find it useful to do something for myself in the morning when I get up. For me, I just find that the easiest time to fit it in before I get sidetracked with life and work, you know, and other things. So yeah, it's finding that thing. And again, as I said before, it's finding that something that you connect with, resonate with you. I know yourself at the moment, you're on your mindfulness wonderful journey. So you obviously connect with that. So yeah, it's just something that you connect with that's just time for you, and it can be as simple as going and sitting in your garden. And you could probably talk more about that on the mindfulness, about, you know, drinking a cup of tea mindfully and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for helping people to being able to just insert this into their very normal, you know, day, really. And I even say, you know, and it is tough sometimes for people with young families and so on. But you know, my response to that is, well, first of all, when you do this, you actually find you create more capacity for yourself and more space and more time all of a sudden, because you're doing something for yourself rather than focusing on a distraction or something you would normally be doing. And then second of all, you know what, you can even be mindful away from the kids for 5 minutes when you're on the loo. Literally, it's just like you said, it doesn't have to be this whole idea of, you know, oh God, I've got to block out an hour of my day, but you know, it's just really dropping into these moments, isn't it, where you can just be very kind of present and just give yourself that breather just for 5 minutes, just to pause.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many great apps out there that can help you try and switch that brain off. Well, not switch it off, because you can't switch it off, but just let your thoughts go and relax.
Yeah.
And again, it can be something as simple, which I see in a lot of my news feeds quite regularly, that seems to go in cycles, of just sitting there and clenching your jaw, relaxing your shoulders down, and taking a few deep breaths just to release that tension.
Yeah. So why do you think then, I mean, we're talking about this in a very general context right now, but you know, when we talk about grief, this suddenly seems to become even more important? why do you think it isn't, you know, more important for people who are grieving to really pay attention to their self-care?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're grieving, I mean, it has such an impact on your holistic self. So your mind, your emotions, your physical, and your spiritual and social. And you know, you're just completely out of sorts, basically. You know, you're probably not going to be able to concentrate that well. Your memory might be impacted. You may not be sleeping because of, you know, what the impact grief's on you. You might not be eating very well anymore. You know, you might be eating a load of rubbish because that's what you're craving, that comfort, or you've just lost your appetite, you know, altogether. So when you're in the grief, especially in the early stages, but obviously these issues can become more long term, it's easy to sort of not recognize what's going on because you're sort of engulfed and consumed by the grief. We're not really aware sometimes of what's going on, or that we are not looking after ourselves as we may have been doing previously. So it's even more important to try and just do something a little, whatever your time duration or allocation or time is for yourself. And that allows you then to have more self-awareness about what you're experiencing in your body. If you just give yourself those few minutes or longer, if you're able to, just check in with yourself. And then that will create an awareness. And with awareness brings more awareness. And then we can start to make different choices. But unless you're aware of that, you're stuck in that big ball of messiness that's just going round and round and round and not making any sense to you.
Yeah. So it's like it's a bit of a chicken and egg, isn't it, I guess? And it's a way of getting off that merry-go-round of, like you say, you know, the mess. Grief is messy, isn't it? You know, let's face it. It's up and down, and it's different emotions, and, you know, moment by moment changing. So it is a way to just get off that merry-go-round as well. You know, even just enough to, like you said, give yourself the space, carve out that bit of space for yourself, and just check in with it, you know, what it is that you actually need, you know, just in this moment, you know. And I always feel like, say to clients, that is a really good question to actually ask yourself: what do I need right now? What is it I need right now? Because people can be so consumed with what they're having to do and having to get through, you know, in terms of grief, that we forget to just ask, what do I need?
And that's it. And we can also wear the mask of I'm fine, I'm okay, you know, the automatic response that we all just slips off the tongue, you know, and that mask could have been worn from a very young age of how you're expected to behave.
Ben's chiming in, sorry.
Oh, is he? Good one, Ben, you agree. Yay.
Oh gosh.
So having that mask as well. So as you said, it's, you know, what do I need? I think it's also useful that people look around them to see what support they do have around them, what positive relationships they do have around them, and how those positive relationships do help and support them. You know, it can be extremely hard to ask for help in, you know, whatever situation. So you know, one thing I sort of advise people to do is look around you. What support do you have around you that is positive? Who do you feel comfortable with, that you can talk to? And if they don't feel they've got that positive relationship around them, it's sort of, okay, what do you need then? what is it that, as you've said, what is it that you feel you need?
Yeah.
And then looking at that and working from there.
And going back to that holistic health, it may be that in that moment, you know, people need something very physical. They feel that, you know, or actually I've not really eaten very well today, or I haven't eaten at all, or, you know,
Yeah.
maybe just take some time and have something healthy right now, or perhaps I need to go for a walk, get a bit of exercise. You know, it could be very physical. It could be that somebody thinks on an emotional level, actually I just need a bloody good cry, or I really need to talk to somebody right now about this emotion that I've got. Socially, it could be, you know what, I feel like I just need to get out the house and be around people, or actually I just need some time on my own. So is this whole self approach of, when, you know, I'd go a step further as to when you say, what do I need? It's like, where is that need? Is it a physical need? Is it an emotional need? Just understanding, like you say, getting to know yourself. Those different levels.
And we're all complex human beings, so it does take time. And if you are struggling with your sort of self-confidence, self-esteem, and don't have an inkling of what your self-awareness is, it's hard to then be able to pinpoint, well, what is it that I actually need? So the pen's going again. So yeah, as you say, if you just sit down and who do I have around me? How can they help me? And as you said, that could be physical in a way of, can you make me some food? I've lost all mojo of cooking. I'm not interested, but I've become aware that I need to eat healthily to help myself. So you could ask someone, or even, can you go shopping for me? If you don't want to face shopping. And then, have you got someone that you can talk to, who you can sit down there and have a good cry with? Have you got someone else that you can go and have a walk with? And you haven't got that in a close network. There's so many like local community groups that you may find useful. And again, not specifically a loss or grief support group, but it may be a walking group or learning cooking, just basic skills.
I found volunteering was incredibly helpful, actually, for me. It, on occasions, I think not only did it just give me a purpose for the day, just to get out of bed and be somewhere and do something, it also helped me to just meet a few new people and just feel as though, I was connected, and I didn't necessarily have to tell them what was going on in my life or tell them my life story if I didn't want to. But it just gave me that sense of connection with being around people, and it was really good, actually.
And that's, I know locally, my local authority, Telford and Wrekin, they have been for a couple of years now really promoting the 5 steps to wellbeing, which is obviously good for your emotional health and mental health. And giving, volunteering is one of those 5 steps. And that, like yourself, I have found I've done volunteering since my 20s, but I have found it very beneficial to me personally, to be able to give back to causes that are close to my heart. And as you say, it does then give you that connection with other people.
Yeah, for sure. So
and connection is one of the other 5 steps as well.
I wanted to ask you about self-love.
Oh, okay.
You say it like that. That just makes it sound really dodgy. But
oh God.
Another one of these terms, isn't it, that's bandied around? Yeah, we see self-love, self-compassion. These kind of terms are bandied around all the time now. And I wanted to just ask you if you feel there's a difference between the two, between self-care and then these other ideas around, self-love, self-compassion, and if so, what you think the differences might be, or even the similarities. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a crossover. Yeah, there was definitely a crossover or blending, and I guess it's what standpoint you're coming from. Some people might say, well, they're both the same thing. But self-love, like self-care, is when you're doing stuff to care for yourself. I would put self-love is more of accepting yourself for who you are, knowing yourself. So that's how I see the difference. Yes, there is crossovers between the two. In some ways, if you love yourself, you're going to be caring for yourself. So if you see what I mean. So yeah, there is crossovers. But I think from my standpoint of view on that is that self-love is when you like yourself, you love yourself, and you accept yourself for who you are, for everything you've experienced in life, and where you are currently on your life's journey.
I
So
feel
that's
like
how I differentiate.
when we talk about self-love, it feels to me like there's a deeper connection going on there with yourself. It's something that you possibly feel on a deeper level, or not feel, if the case may be. And I think you're absolutely right that I think maybe people that struggle a lot with self-care are possibly, not always, but possibly in a situation where they don't necessarily love themselves enough to be able to prioritize it. So there's definitely a relationship between the two, but I feel that compassion has a lot to do with self-care as well. So when we talk about it in the context of grief, that we need to be able to be very compassionate with ourselves when we're on this journey, be like super compassionate and thinking of what's coming up for us and where we're at on this journey. Because I think people will very often feel like they should or shouldn't be coping in different ways, and I guess people around us have got opinions as well about what should and shouldn't be happening in our grief, and it's very easy to get sucked into those stories and to start beating ourselves up about things in grief. So I feel that when you develop that relationship with yourself, that you're very compassionate and just love and accept where you are on the journey as well, that's all kind of part of self-love.
Yeah, definitely. And both the services that we offer enable you to develop a deeper understanding of yourself. I know for myself, I have many light bulbs going off of realizing why I behaved in the way I behaved in certain situations, but never really grasping previously as to why. And for myself, that stems back to my childhood experiences that have knocked on as more losses have happened. So yeah, it's finding that thing. I can't think of a better word for that at the moment. I'm just calling it a thing. Finding that approach that works for you to process your emotions, understand yourself a lot better as to why you may behave in the way you do, why your belief system is what it is, and then accepting that, understanding it. The awareness, understanding, for me personally, has enabled me to definitely accept myself and accept, yes, we are human, no one is perfect, it's complex. These behaviors and beliefs are deeply embedded in our brain, but again, having the awareness and that can change and make you be able to make different choices in different situations than maybe that previously you would have reacted the same way that you always have.
I definitely think self-talk, the way in which we talk to ourselves, has a lot to do with this as well, isn't it? And it's really strange, isn't it? Because there's some things that we say to ourselves that you would never say to one of your BFFs, would you? Like, the things that if you can catch yourself with some of the things that you say to yourself are very well, the opposite of compassionate, actually. And we all do it, like you say, it takes practice, it takes a lot of practice to A, start to become aware of it in the first place, and then B, when you notice it, it's like, oh, okay, there it goes again.
Yeah.
And just bringing yourself back to, you know, actually, let's not go down that road.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point there, actually. That's a very good tip as well. That, and I say this to people, is like, what would you say if your best friend was sat or stood in front of you now? What advice would you give to them and give it to yourself? You know, and again, that is hard to do, but that's a very good tip that you touched on there. That, you know, and it might not happen. You could be trundling along for a few weeks doing the same thing, and then it might just hit you like, oh, and not beat yourself up that it took you a few weeks or a few months to realise that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's all about, yeah, sorry.
No, you can't.
No, I know, just I was going to say another thing, you know, it's, as you said, our self-talk is very strong, you know, to ourselves, and trying to change that and not criticise yourself or judge yourself when something, you may have done an old pattern that you've always been, or you've been trying to eat better and you go and eat a bar of chocolate or whatever, you know, it's not beating yourself up for things that you may want to call yourself a name over. In better
Wow, life would be a very dull thing without chocolate, don't you?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think this has been a really helpful discussion, actually, and I hope that actually we shared a few really good tips here and things for people to think about. So I guess just to round up, have you got like perhaps like a top 3 maybe kind of tips in terms of self-care / self-love that you would say to somebody right now who's grieving?
Yeah, I mean, I would things that I have personally used that enable me to make bigger differences. I can't think of the word I want from there, but yeah, definitely. And the thing I always say to people is when you're feeling really like the whole, you just want, it's like an impending doom hanging over and you really just can't see any light or positivity, is to write down 3 things a day that you're grateful for. I started with that in 2018, and that changed my perception, and from there more positivity started entering my life. And again, for some people that may seem really difficult, you know, so I haven't got 3 things in my life, but it can be something as simple as you've got running water coming out of your tap, or you saw a flower out the window, the sun was shining today. You know, it doesn't have to be anything big, just 3 things. And as you get into that way of thinking, that will help switch the impending doom feeling completely. Another thing that I like to do, I have a playlist on my phone of upbeat songs that, you know, a lot of them are from the 80s, but songs that I love, you know, songs that just make me smile. And again, you might be feeling like utter pants, but just playing those daily, or when you're feeling blue and really in a dark place, that is just changing the chemicals, you know. It's going to bring you some joy in some respect, and hopefully it might make you jig a little bit, and it might make you sing a line or 2. And the third thing really would be to make those 5 minutes, if it's only 5 minutes a day, just make those 5 minutes a day for yourself. And that can be, again, simple as going standing outside in your garden and just breathing in fresh air, listening to relaxation music, giving yourself a foot bath. You know, having a bath, if you're able to have baths, or have a bath. You know, having a bath is an amazing way just to relax, and light a candle. Or it can even be looking up a new recipe online. You know, just 5 minutes for you, something that what you connect with, that is brings you some lightness and joy, really.
Yeah, I love those. They're really great ones. And I think never underestimate the power of just the simple things in life, you know, just those, like you say, the bubble bath, or the bit of chocolate, or the cake, or, you know, the hot drink, or whatever it is. You know, I know that self-care is a bit deeper than those things. It's not just about the surface things, but, you know, the power of those comforting, I guess, moments that we can create with ourselves, they're totally in our grasp all the time. They can be just very, very, you know, they can really just shift your state in that moment. So thank you so much, Sam. I've really enjoyed our chat, actually. I'll have to do it again sometime. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, I guess we could talk for hours, I think.
We could talk for hours, and I'm very conscious that people want to scroll on to the next thing, or whatever it is they're doing right now. So I'm really grateful to you, actually, for coming on and just sharing this moment with me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll just put some links somewhere below, above, somewhere in this post to check or how they can, of course, get hold of us, because, of course, more than anything, above all, is just to reach out and just to talk to somebody as well. If, you know, you're very much struggling right now, if you're feeling very stuck in your grief, there are loads of people like myself and Sam out here just ready and waiting to help you. So just reach out. So thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. And I send love to everyone watching this video.
Much love.
Bye.